You can change your life not in a year, not in a month, but in one morning. Yes, exactly. But only if that morning starts the right way. Most people wake up to survive. The successful, to create. In this video, I will show you 4 morning rituals that turn a person into a magnet for success, and at the end, a practical task that will change your next 24 hours. Once I said, don't start the day until you finished it on paper. And you know, that wasn't just a phrase, but it was a law I learned to follow back when I was collecting debts, hiding from my landlord, and asking myself, Jim, what are you doing with your life? Because I realized one thing, successful and unsuccessful people wake up at almost the same time. But one takes the day by the horns, and the other just flounders through it. The difference lies in the first hours after waking up. Here's the paradox. Most people want change, but start their morning exactly like they did yesterday. They wake up, grab their phone, swallow information junk before breakfast, and dash into the day like rabbits in the bushes, without a map, without a goal, without an inner compass. And then they wonder, why didn't I manage anything again? Why did the day slip by like a dream, without results, without joy, without progress? I was 25 and I was completely broken, financially, emotionally, mentally. But then I met someone who changed my thinking, my mentor, Mr. Schoaf, and he asked me, Jim, how does your day begin? I answered honestly, well, I wake up, rush to get ready for work, and then whatever happens. He smiled, nodded, and said, there's your result. A person without morning discipline is like a ship without a rudder. Since then, I began building my mornings, brick by brick. And you know what? Everything changed. Not overnight, but each day, a little, and eventually, profoundly. Because it's in the morning silence that character is shaped. It's in rituals that confidence is born. It's in calm discipline that a great destiny emerges. I've told thousands of people all over the world, if you don't control your morning, you don't control your life. And today we'll talk about 4 morning rituals that I've considered the unshakable foundation of a productive, inspired, and abundant life. But before I reveal each one, I want you to honestly answer this. How does your morning start? Not ideally, not on paper, but in reality. Because here's what I know for sure. Success doesn't happen by accident. It's born from repeated daily actions that shape your identity. You can't be a chaotic person in the morning and expect harmony, wealth, and success throughout the day. It doesn't work that way. Wise habits are the foundation of a great personality. And the first hours after waking up are the key tool for laying those bricks. Now listen, I was a farm boy from Idaho. I wasn't taught in universities. Life taught me. And I realized it doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is where you're going. And the path to a great life always starts small, with the morning, with inner silence. With a short conversation with yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? Once I heard, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I would add, you are also the result of your first 5 morning habits. Do they bring you clarity, inspiration, energy, focus, or only chase irritability and confusion? Because in the end, Jamba, you don't create your morning creates you. And one more thought I want to leave you with before we move on to the first ritual. Successful people don't just wake up earlier, they wake up differently. They don't flow into the day, they launch it. And that's a skill you can develop. That's the secret I want to show you. So stay with me till the end, because today we're not just going to talk about 4 rituals. Together, we're going to do something that may change not just your morning, but possibly your entire life. And at the end, I'll give you one simple task that in the morning will make you the person you've long wanted to become. Ritual 1, morning silence. Start the day in silence, not in the noise of the world. I always said, before you let the world speak to you, speak to yourself first. And that's not poetry, it's discipline, because the world screams. From the very first seconds after waking up, it whispers through your phone, the news, incoming messages. And if you don't place yourself above that noise, it will consume you before breakfast. That's why my first morning ritual is silence. 10 to 15 minutes of stillness, where I consume nothing neither from the outside nor the inside. It may seem trivial, but in reality it's a spiritual steering wheel. In those minutes, you reclaim control over yourself. You're not rushing. You're not reacting. You're observing. You're the calm water before sunrise. Because it is in silence that the strongest decisions are born. And that is where the self is formed. I remember one morning back in those hard days when I was drowning in debt, wearing someone else's suit, and had zero self-respect. I woke up very early before dawn, not because I was inspired, but because I couldn't sleep. The feeling of failure was burning inside me, and I did the only thing I could. I sat in a chair and just sat. No music, no books, no thoughts of escape. And suddenly, for the first time in a long while, I heard myself. Jim, if you don't change, nothing will change. That simple thought didn't come from outside, it came from within. And I wrote it down on a scrap of paper. That was the first line of my new life. Since that morning, I've defended those first minutes after waking up like a lion defends its cubs. I allowed no one and nothing to intrude, because it's in that space where you decide who you will be today, a victim or a creator, an adapter or an architect, a shadow or a source of light. My mentor, Mr. Showoff, once told me, if you let the random world shape your morning, don't be surprised when it shapes your life. And he was right. All the successful people I've met, millionaires, leaders, creators, had one thing in common. They didn't start the day in a rush. They started it in silence and clarity, in an inner mindset of who they wanted to be. And you? How do you start your day? Do you hit snooze 3 times, grab your phone, check the news, respond to messages, scroll your feed? Then don't be surprised that your day is pulled not by your vision, but by someone else's noise. You're not living, you're being led. I love the image. If the first minutes of your morning are the roots of a tree, then the whole day is its crown. If the roots are weak, the tree bends with every wind. But if those first minutes are filled with silence, dignity, and inner focus, the day unfolds differently. You don't just live, you direct. You don't just act, you act from a place of power. I've seen this again and again. I've consulted wealthy businessmen who had everything except peace. I'd ask them, how do you start your day? And I'd often hear, oh, I go straight into business, dozens of emails, calls, meetings. And I'd say, that's your problem. You run a corporation, but you don't run your own mind. One of them, a very successful trader, listened to me. And the next day, he tried his first experiment. 15 minutes of morning silence. No screen, no input. Just him, his breath, and his thoughts. 2 weeks later, he told me, Jim, for the first time, I felt like I'm not just controlling the market, I'm controlling myself. And that was everything. Because here's what I know for sure. A person who doesn't have a moment of silence in the morning will speak a lot during the day, but won't say anything truly important. This first ritual, it's not about meditation or mysticism, it's about discipline. It's your right to reclaim yourself before the world pulls you into its business. It's your internal source, your grounding point. And if you're looking for strength for a tough day, energy for a breakthrough, calm in the storm, you won't find it in the news or in coffee. You'll find it in morning silence. And here's another thing. This ritual costs nothing, requires no equipment, doesn't depend on the weather. The only thing it needs is your decision. I'm starting this day not as a servant, but as a master. Now, friend, ask yourself, can you give yourself 10 minutes of silence tomorrow morning? No phone, no talking, no notifications. Just sit, breathe, hear your inner voice, because it's still there. And it's waiting for you to stop listening to everyone else and finally start listening to yourself. That's the beginning of true transformation. Ritual 2, write your day before you live it. Don't start your day until you've finished it on paper. This is one of my favorite phrases. I've repeated it thousands of times on stages around the world. And you know why? Because it's simple. And it works. Most people start their day without a plan. They just wake up and drift. And I'll tell you honestly, friends, if you haven't written out your day, you've already lost it by breakfast. When I was still young, 26 years old, my mentor asked me, Jim, show me your plan for the day. I got embarrassed and said, well, I have things to do. It's all in my head. He stopped me with a gesture and said, if your day isn't on paper, it's not in your hands. It was a blow, but a blow of truth. Because here's what I learned. Successful people don't improvise their lives. They write them, manage them, sketch them, shape them. Others just react. They go where urgency, panic, or someone else's needs drag them. So I introduced a second unshakable ritual. Every morning before I say a single word to the world, I grab a pen and write down 3 things. What I want to achieve today, why it matters, and how I'll do it. It takes 10 minutes, but it changes everything. Imagine this. You are the director of your film. You're not just an actor who doesn't know what comes next. You're not an extra. You're not improvising. You're the architect. And in the morning, before opening your laptop or reacting to someone's request, you write, Scene 1, I resolve the issue I've been putting off for a week. Scene 2, I lead the meeting like a leader. Scene 3, I end the day with a sense of closure. Because if you don't write your day, someone else will write it for you. Your clients, your relatives, your emotions, your notifications. The world loves drifters, but success chooses those who chart the course. I've seen it work in others' lives. Once at a seminar, a young man approached me, an accountant, exhausted, burnt-out, drained. Jim, I feel like every day is a copy of the last, like I'm stuck in a loop. I didn't give him a book. I didn't recommend a motivational podcast. I just said, for the next 7 days, every morning, write your day. Write 3 things you'll definitely do, and why. A week later, he came back a different man. There was a spark in his eyes. I feel like I'm finally in charge of my life, he said. And it was true, because we're not crushed by reality. We're crushed by chaos. And against chaos, order helps. And order begins with a pen. I've said it many times. Any action you don't write down will either be forgotten or devalued, because the brain loves clarity. And when you write in today at 10 o'clock, I'm calling the client I was afraid to call, you're not just planning, you're taking responsibility. There's another key point. A written plan also builds emotional connection. Because when you add the word why to a task, you add meaning and power. For example, I'm finishing this project today because it will move me closer to a promotion, because I want to be someone who finishes things, because I respect my time. That's where energy comes from, because there is no power in a task without meaning. But when you have the what, why, and how, the day has an axis, a backbone. You don't fall apart, you gather yourself, and in the evening you didn't just get through another day, you lived it, consciously. Now let me tell you something important. This ritual isn't just about efficiency, it's about dignity, about realizing that you matter enough to have a clear plan, not just tasks, a vision, because if you don't respect your day won't respect you. I once heard, a person without a plan is easy prey for someone else's plans. And it's true. If you don't write down your own 3 goals, you'll definitely end up executing someone else's 10. And maybe you'll do it well, but what will happen to you? And one more thing, a written plan is also a tool for inner discipline, because every time you cross something off, you strengthen your self-trust. And that, believe me, is one of the most powerful currencies in life. I once went through a day without a plan. Long ago, I thought, no big deal, I'll figure it out as I go. And guess what? Procrastination, distraction, reactivity. By the end of the day, a feeling of failure, even though I had been busy. And that's when I understood. Being busy doesn't mean being productive. So here's your challenge. Tomorrow morning, sit down, take a pen, and write, what will I do today? Why does it matter? How will I do it specifically, with time, format, and context? You don't need 30 items. 3 are enough. But do them with honor, with calm confidence, with quiet dignity. And in the evening, look in the mirror and say, I didn't just live the day, I created it. Ritual 3, move your body, activate your mind. Treat your body like it matters, because it does. Here's a simple truth I didn't grasp right away. Success isn't just a matter of the mind, it's a matter of energy. And energy lives in the body. If your body is sluggish, your productivity will be too. If your spine is slouched, your thoughts won't stand tall either. That's why my 3rd morning ritual is just as important as silence and planning. It's movement, any kind, but every day, no exceptions. I used to tell people at my seminars, if you want to be effective, disciplined, inspiring, but you can't get out of bed without 3 cups of coffee, we don't have a motivation problem, we have a physiology problem. And it's true, because the body is the container for the spirit, and if the container is weak, the spirit can't expand. I remember when I began changing my life, I was working on philosophy, goals, and habits, but something was missing, I felt stuck. Then a friend of mine, an athlete, said, what about your body, Jim? You think a lot, but are you moving? And I realized I had become smart but weak, and that's a dangerous combination. From then on, every morning before sitting down with plans, books, or thoughts, I made myself move. Sometimes simple exercises, sometimes a brisk walk, sometimes just deep breathing and stretching on the balcony. But I did it every day, like brushing teeth, like a shower, because it is a shower for your inner self. Why is this so important? Because energy is born in movement, and energy is the currency of productivity. People say, I don't have motivation, and I reply, you don't have oxygen, because a brain without blood flow cannot be inspired. A body that doesn't move can't generate willpower. I once gave a simple formula: better body, more energy, better decisions, better results, more confidence, new actions. And it all starts with the body, with the simple act of waking up and standing up. A guy came up to me after a lecture and said, Jim, I want change, but I can't do anything before 11 a.m. My whole day starts in catch-up mode. I asked, how does your morning begin? He shrugged, wake up, drink coffee, scroll my phone. I said, tomorrow morning, no coffee, no phone. 5 minutes, just walk, just move. Not for fitness, for yourself. A week later, he thanked me. Not because he lost weight or became an athlete, but because he felt alive before breakfast. Here's what you need to understand. This ritual isn't about abs, physique, or looking fit. It's about ignition, about the signal you send to yourself. I'm alive, I'm taking action, I'm in charge. When you wake up and immediately move your body, you're telling life, I'm ready, and life responds. But when you wake and remain passive, life pushes, and you're left reacting. I'm not asking you to become a marathon runner, but I am asking you, make your body your ally. Not your prison, not your burden, not just a survival tool, but your source of energy. Did you know even 3 minutes of active movement in the morning changes your brain chemistry? Dopamine, the achievement hormone, rises. Cortisol, the stress hormone, drops. You're not just moving, you're preparing to win. Here's a simple routine, my personal protocol. 3, 3, 3, 3 minutes of walking around your room, yard, doesn't matter. But in minutes of stretching or simple exercises, bends, squats, minutes of deep breathing, inhale 4 seconds, hold 4, exhale 6. After that, you're a different person, not just awake, awakened. Now I know some of you are thinking, but what if I'm tired? What if I didn't sleep enough? And my answer is, that's exactly why you need this. The body isn't just a machine, it's a fire. And you have to learn to light it, not when you feel like it, but when you need to. Because here's the core truth. Success isn't about feeling good. Success is the ability to generate inner strength even when you don't feel like it. And every morning when your feet touch the floor and you say, I'm getting up, I'm moving, I'm switching myself on, you're not just training muscles, you're shaping your identity. You become the person who doesn't wait for inspiration. You become the inspiration. So ask yourself, do I have a morning practice that gives me energy? If not, tomorrow is the time to start. Not Monday, not in the perfect mood. Start with the body, because it is your first and most faithful tool for personal transformation. Ritual 4. Envision who you want to become and be grateful for who you already are. I often said, a person without vision is like a ship without a compass. Looks good, but drifts wherever the wind blows. And this isn't just a metaphor, it's a law of life. Because if you don't know who you want to become, the world will shape you. And the world shapes you for itself, not for your dreams. That's why my 4th morning ritual, one I've never skipped, sounds simple. First gratitude, then imagination. 2 steps. But together they form an emotional center of gravity that pulls the day toward you, not you into the day. Step 1, gratitude. Yes, that's right, and this isn't religious. It's a practice of focus. Because if your mind immediately latches onto lack in the morning, you start your day with the feeling of, I don't have enough. And the entire day becomes a chase for what's missing. But if you open your eyes and the first thought is, I'm alive, I have a mind, I have at least one more chance, that activates a completely different power. Gratitude is the energy of enough. And enough is the foundation of wise growth, because you know what grounds success best? Not hunger, but a clear awareness that you already have value, that you're already a person worthy of respect, and from that anchor, the climb begins. I taught myself to write 3 simple things every morning. I'm grateful for my mind, I'm grateful for the ability to change myself, I'm grateful for one more day. And if you have nothing else, start with that, because even one day is a gift. And gratitude for that gift turns you into someone who not only receives, but multiplies. Step 2, imagination. That's right, envision yourself as the person you want to become, but not abstractly sensory, vividly, deeply. Don't just imagine the successful you, imagine the you who lives your values, your style, your mission, your power. I once sat on a bench in the park back when there was only change in my pocket and panic in my head. And I did one thing. I imagined myself on stage. I pictured myself holding a mic, people laughing, nodding, a young guy approaching me afterward and saying, "Thank you, that changed me." And though in reality I was just a guy in debt in that image, I was something more, and that gave me wings for the day. Since then, I created a daily habit, 10 minutes every morning to visualize who I want to be, not what I want to have, but who I want to become. Because, people don't want things, they want the feelings those things give. And those feelings can be felt before anything changes externally. Imagine yourself as someone who has dignity in their voice, calm in their heart, purpose in every decision, power in their eyes. And here's the key. When you imagine that person every morning, you begin making their decisions. You begin speaking their words. You begin reacting with their calm. Because the mind doesn't always distinguish between imagination and reality. And that means you can already be the future version of yourself in the details, in your behavior, in your stillness. Many people ask me, "Jim, did you really believe in visualization?" I answered, "No, I lived it." Because the difference between a dream and a vision is feeling. A dream is a light mist. A vision is an inner reality already shaping your steps. I saw it change lives. One student of mine, a humble manager, started with something simple. Every day, he visualized himself as a leader who inspires. He didn't have a team yet, but there was strength in his eyes. And when a new position opened a month later, he was chosen without hesitation. Not because of experience, but because he was already living the role of the person he wanted to become.